2011, a year known in the weather community for the 27th of April tornado outbreak just a month earlier, and also the Joplin tornado 2 days earlier. Both events shadowed the El Reno monster of 2011, not to be confused with the 2.6-mile-wide tornado in 2013. That's a whole nother video. But now let's get into it. El Reno is a medium-sized town of around 17,000 people in 2011, located just 40 kilometers or 25 miles from downtown Oklahoma City. Now, in 2011, one single event would shake that town indefinitely. A single storm that had winds of 474 kilometers or 295 miles per hour. The day of the El Reno Piedmont tornado, May 24th, 2011, had a high risk of tornadoes from middle Oklahoma to southern Kansas and barely dipping into Arkansas and Louisiana. There was a 30% chance of tornadoes in the same place as the high risk, I think. And there was also a 45% chance for hail 1 inch or bigger. While the dew point over central Oklahoma was 64 to 70 Fahrenheit with CAPE, or convective available potential energy, which is basically instability in the air that fuels tornadoes' lives. But the CAPE had reached from 2,500 to 4,000 joules per kilogram, which is a lot. Very scary number. And then the National Weather Service, or NWS, issued a 45% chance of tornadoes over at the storm. It had touched the ground at around 3 p.m., captured by Jeff Snyder. It didn't cause any surveyable damage until 10.5 miles after it touched the ground, and which caused 158 miles per hour, or EF3 damage, to a warehouse building. Less than a half mile from the 158 mile per hour damage, or 11.5 miles from touchdown, it rolled a 200,000-pound oil drilling rig, which was also tied down with cables anchored 5.5 feet underground. It would be 8 more miles till EF4 damage was surveyed, which was 177 miles per hour destruction of well-engineered and/or well-constructed residence. Slab swept clean. It would continue producing EF3 damage for another 7.5 miles and briefly shrinking in size, which it probably got stronger when doing so, because right after it shrunk, it grew to its largest size and produced heavy EF4 damage. It then went across Northwest Expressway Street at 1 mile wide, with winds estimated by me to be around 220 miles per hour, but only producing EF3 damage due to the lack of well-built structures. Then shrinking again to only around half mile wide, but strengthened during it. Sound familiar? Producing multiple EF4 polygons/damage at the Seipert 209 reservoir, producing 200 miles per hour EF4 damage, then growing in size to produce EF3 damage to metal truss towers, growing slightly more to a mile wide. It only produces EF2 damage to trailer homes, then rapidly shrinking in size, but then producing 160 high-end EF3 damage, but it stays around the same strength for about 7 more miles, and then finally steadily weakens and rapidly drops in size. It then heads into the northern and western parts of Garthy, only producing EF2 damage. Then 5.5 miles later, 60 miles, an hour and 40 minutes. And after 9 lives were gone, the tornado lifted. After all settled and families crawled out of their storm shelters, they saw nothing. No buildings, no telephone towers, nothing. An estimated $200 to $300 million in property damage was caused from this singular tornado. It was officially rated EF5, and people consider the 2011 El Reno tornado to be the most underrated tornado because it only had surveyed winds of 210, even though Doppler on wheels, or Dow, had scanned speeds of 295, around 70 feet off the ground. So yeah. This took a very long time to research, script, and edit. So please consider liking and subscribing so I can get on the algorithm, so I can get more people educated about significant storm events in history. And there will be better edited videos on other Roblox games. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.